helping you get prepared when the lights go out for good. Stefan Verstappen is our emergency preparedness expert, the author of The Art of Urban Survival. Check out the websites chinastrategies.com and formingcommunities.com. Stefan, welcome back. Did you have a good weekend, buddy?
Yeah, I had a great weekend, Richard. I'm very proud of the community here. At the last meeting, it came to our attention that one of the members, she had a medical emergency and she wasn't feeling too well. So we had a bunch of people volunteer to go there once a day and bring her a meal so she didn't have to cook. So my friend Dixie and I, we drove over to her compound on Sunday, and I prepared my world famous Papa Stefano's pasta salad supremo.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Every bite is 2,000 calories. I mean, it's just, you get fat on this stuff. And beautiful family, okay? They live on 10 acres, completely off grid. Solar panels, wind energy, dozens of chickens, and a garden. Oh, my God. Huge gardens. They grow everything there. And so it was a joy to see it. Richard, it's really a joy to see like a happy, healthy family, completely self-reliant, completely separate from the whole system. And so I'm glad that our community does things like that.
Right, almost like a Meals on Wheels kind of a program, but this is kind of, you've taken this upon yourselves within your own smaller community.
Yes, and Meals on Wheels is in my book on how to form communities, because it's another good way to form a community. It's like we talk about, survivalism, and yes, ideally, I wish everybody could be part of a survivalist community. Everybody get off grid, everybody look after each other. But the fact is, it's very hard to form those kind of communities. But I always tell people, form some kind of community. Do something for other people. Become involved. And so this community that I'm in part of now, very nice. And so, listen, somebody wasn't feeling good, and they couldn't look after themselves. And so the people of the community volunteered. It just came together. We didn't have it set up in advance or anything. Just raise your hand if you can be there Monday. Okay, who can go there on Tuesday? Who can go there on Sunday? So I went there on Sunday with my good friend Dixie, and had a great time. And you know what? You feel good doing things for other people. Maybe it's just me.
No, it's not just you. It's so important because many of these things that we used to take, our ancestors took upon themselves to go and check the neighbor 2 miles down the road because there was nobody, that was your closest neighbor 2 miles down the road. And you knew that they were a little elderly. So you would go and we farmed all of these, no pun intended, these, what once were sort of neighborly communal responsibilities. We farmed those out to the government. And so now if you want to, you do a wellness check, you call the police. Could you go check on my, my cousin? We haven't heard from him in 3 weeks. And so the police will go and if necessary, they have ways they can open the lock, unlock the door and go in and make sure that everyone's okay. But we used to do those things on our own.
Absolutely. Our ancestors used to do that. And you know who else used to do that on their own? The churches. I don't know what modern churches do nowadays, but if you're part of a congregation, certainly bring it up. Start to do things like that for your fellow congregationalists.
All right, so this brings us to our subject today, which is, you call it a check-in service, which is kind of like a wellness check that the police do, I guess, but we do this as a community now. Tell me more.
Okay, so we've talked about forming all kinds of communities, and some of these communities are a little bit tricky to form, like a food co-op. That's going to be tricky to form because you have to source the food and you have to, take the orders and handle the cash, and deliver the produce. This is the simplest and easiest community to form. It takes nothing. It costs nothing. You hardly have to do anything other than pick up the phone. But as simple and easy as it is, do not underestimate the value that this kind of a community will bring to the people that are part of it. So, in a nutshell, a check-in community is whereby people sign up, right? You can put put something up on Facebook. You could put an ad in the local trade magazine or something like that. Anybody that would like to be part of this community, we will call you once a day just to see how you're doing. That's all it is. And what you do is you set up what's known as a telephone tree. So let's say we get 50 people sign up. Now, I personally cannot call 50 people every day. But what happens is I call 5 people, and they call 5 people, and they call 5 people. So that's called a telephone tree. So I only have to call 5 people in a day. And then that spreads out until everybody within that community gets a phone call. And all it is a phone call to say, Richard, how are you doing today? Everything okay? How you feeling? How's your health? Are you on medication? Did you take your medicine? Tell me about your day. 5 minutes. Spend 5 minutes. Now, as simple and easy as that sounds, the benefits are humongous.
And all right, we're going to take a quick time out here. Stefan will come back and continue to discuss this check-in service. Are you okay? Stefan Verstappen, emergency preparedness expert, author of The Art of Urban Survival. More of our conversation in 3 minutes. Don't go away.
Back to the conversation on The Richard Syrett Show. News Talk, Saga 960 AM.
Welcome back. It's called a check-in service. And when you form a community, you basically check in, a simple phone call once a day, a 5-minute phone call. Your neighbor, or maybe someone who lives around the corner or even across town, depending on how your community is configured, just to make sure, particularly the elderly or the disabled, make sure everything is okay. Not difficult to do. Stefan Verstappen is our emergency preparedness expert, author of The Art of Urban Survival, ChinaStrategies.com, FormingCommunities.com. Do you prioritize, as I say, let's say the elderly or people with disabilities? Would they be in the priority in terms of these check-in calls every day?
Absolutely. It's essential for the elderly and people that are house-ridden. And because, we live in a society now where people are so alienated and so isolated. And I know lots of seniors that live alone. They have an apartment. Nobody comes to visit them. They go out once a week to do their grocery shopping. And then for the rest of the time, they're pretty much stuck at home and nobody checks in on them. Now, there is a trend in Japan that's called the lonely deaths. And this is a trend that I'm sure is happening here now. And what that trend means is that there are many people that are retired, they're isolated, they have no family, they live at home, and they die. Now, what happens is nobody finds their body. Nobody notices that they're dead. The only time they find the body is when the smell gets so bad that finally the landlord or the neighbors send some police over, and then they found out the guy died 2 months ago or the woman died 2 months ago. What a tragedy. Nobody cares about you, even if you live or if you die. And to prevent that, this is what the check-in club is meant to do, especially for seniors, but not just for seniors and those that are housebound. It's for everybody now. Even young people need this. Young people don't have community. They don't have, really close friends. I think they did a study not too long ago where they asked people, how many really close friends do you have? And I think when they did the study the first time 30 years ago, most people said they had 5 close friends. Now they say they have no close friends. Even young people, this is what this society has become: alienated, isolated, everybody on their own, no friends, no family. And this leads to suicide. But even worse than that, it leads to numerous health problems. There was a book published not too long ago, I think about 10 years ago, called The Blue Zone. And it was written by a doctor who had traveled all over the world to different places where people typically live to be 100 and plus years old, like Sardinia and Okinawa and Costa Rica. And they went there to discover the secret to longevity. And they thought maybe it's something in the food that they ate, something in the water, maybe the wine they drank. What was it? And they experimented and they tested everything they could find, and they couldn't find a common denominator to why these communities and the people in these communities lived so long. But you know what the common denominator was?
Human contact.
Human contact. That's right, Richard. You are so bright.
Yeah, well, not so bad.
And then later on, other studies came along that showed that even something as simple as this check-in club, somebody calls you once a day for 5 minutes to say, hey, how's it going? How you doing? How you feeling today? That will reduce depression and heart disease and diabetes, and even arthritis is reduced simply by having people take some kind of an interest in you. So that's what the check-in club is. It's to make sure that, your community, and of course what you're doing is you are forming a community that can help you in times when things get really tough. But even now, it will help you to live longer. It provides so many benefits. And all it is a 5-minute phone call. Now, one last thing. Remember about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, there was the big purge on YouTube, and all the truth tellers and the truth sayers and the alternative media, the alt-right, whatever you want to call it, they all got taken down.
Right. Happening still.
Still happening, but there was this big purge. They almost all went in the same day, and Patreon cut them off, and Twitter cut them off, and everybody cut. Now, I had a lot of friends in that community, and suddenly I don't see them anymore. What happened to them?
Right, indeed.
And I couldn't find out because you know what? I hadn't thought about this yet. That's why you need this check-in club. We need to exchange phone numbers and email addresses amongst members of the people that are getting ready for this, the people that are fighting against the New World Order. We need to stay in touch with each other, because how do I know if suddenly Richard's kicked off the air at 9:60 a.m. and I don't see him on YouTube and I don't see him on Twitter? What happened to Richard? Did he get picked up by Caligula Castro?
Caligula Castro, I love it. It's true, because so many of us now are acquaintances, our colleagues, our members of our community, if you will. They don't even live in the same province, maybe, but we only know them through social media. That's our only contact. So if that social media connection is severed, it's almost like we're cut off, like they've disappeared.
Yeah. Now, for this, check-in club, it could be just a phone call once a month or once a week. At least I'd have your contact information so that I know if Richard suddenly disappears from all social media, what happened to him? Is he in a gulag somewhere in the Yukon? Or is he simply kicked off and banned from all social? How would I know? And I want to know, because if you start disappearing and the people around us start disappearing, that means it's only a matter of time before somebody comes and knocks at my door at 3:00 in the morning. So I want to be ready. So the check-in club is a great idea for normal, everyday people to support each other and to show that they care, and to prevent suicides and depression and all kinds of autoimmune diseases that come from being alone and isolated. But also from a practical survivalist point of view, I want to know if all our colleagues start disappearing, what happened to them. And I won't know what happened to them unless I had already set up monthly, weekly call-in club. How you doing? Even if it's email for now, and then we go to a phone call if I can't get a hold of you by email, so that we know and we can be ready for when somebody comes knocking at our door.
This is your check-in service call to me once a week. There you go.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, Stefan. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Richard.
I'm okay. Are you okay?
I'm doing really good. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, there we go. Until next week, Stefan Verstappen, emergency preparedness expert, author of The Art of Urban Survival, ChinaStrategies.com, FormingCommunities.com.